Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Sarah here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Luke, and he's selling his Amazon Associates business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, Luke. How you doing today?
Hi, Sarah. It's good to be here,
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm really happy to have you here. I'm looking forward to talking more about your business. Before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of the business. So this is Amazon Associates business in the electronics niche, created in January 2017. The average monthly revenue of the business is $2,051, and it has an average of $2,023 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 47202 to learn more about the business or place a refundable deposit to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing. Now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's dig into the interview. So start me off. Can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, sure. So I've actually been in online marketing for over 10 years now. And for the most part, it's been, I guess the first 8 years or so, it's been on a part-time basis where I've been doing freelance content writing. That'll be my main area. And over the last, I would say, about 5 years ago, I transitioned into working full-time online as a content writer. And I guess within a year or so, I expanded into a little team. And so content is the main area that we handle, content writing sales. And in the last couple of years, we've also moved into a bit of link building as well.
Oh, great. So tell me a little bit about, this business in particular. How did you come up with the idea to start this business?
Okay, so about 3 years ago when I started this business, I was actually looking for other business models and side projects to work on because I was pretty much in content full time. And I noticed there was a lot of Amazon affiliate sites popping up. A lot of my clients had interest in these kind of content, product reviews and stuff like that. So and it looked very interesting to me after doing some initial research. And I was just with my clients and they were recommending it. So I was like, why not? Let's just give it a shot. And that's how it started.
Oh, that's cool. So, it's really interesting that, you have a pretty deep background in this space and that you were interested in Amazon Associates.
Right.
For other people thinking about getting into Amazon Associates, why do you think this is a good business model for people first starting out?
Yeah, I think it's really good because one of the things was when I was actually starting a side project, I realized that there are times when I'm super busy and I focus on my main business. And the thing with Amazon sites is you can start building it up, and if you need to take a break, it's fine because it's very passive in nature. And the next thing is it's not very cash intensive. If you're willing to do the work, you can actually pretty much build the entire business without hardly investing any money or time. Of course, it's going to take you time. But for those two reasons, it seemed like a perfect fit to get into that at the time.
Yeah, it's a great answer. You're exactly right. It's that not having the barrier of entry to have to invest a bunch of time and money up front. I think that's the good way to go. And this might feel like an obvious question, but, for those maybe not familiar with this business model, maybe not super familiar with this business, let's talk a little bit about how it primarily makes money, how you are bringing in revenue with this business.
Right. So I did mention Amazon a couple of times. So the way it works is I would go into a particular niche and then I would research the niche and then find products on Amazon related to it, review the product, and then if somebody visits my site and likes the product and buys it through my website, I get a commission for it, and that's pretty much the entire business model in terms of income.
Great. So why are you selling the business instead of keeping it and growing it?
A couple of reasons. So over the last, I've been busy with my main businesses, and I'm also a few local opportunities that have come up. So because of the lack of time, I've decided to actually sell the business, and also because of the cash flow that I need.
Great. Okay. So I'd like to get a little bit into lessons learned as you were building this. So is there anything you learned from this business that you would apply to future sites or businesses? What did you learn from building this that just seemed to really work for you?
Pretty much like everything the entire project was new to me. A long time ago, back when I just got into online marketing. I did a bit of SEO and stuff, but this was where I actually learned so much about SEO, about writing content that works, and then also about keyword research, the design part of it, working with team builders and stuff like that. So there's so much that I can apply into future projects. So it's been a very educational experience.
And of course, I think that's a great answer, by the way. I'd love to know on the flip side of that, was there anything that you tried that, say, didn't work while building this business?
Okay. I guess in the first year or so, I would say nothing worked, right? Because pretty much everything I was trying, like the site didn't take off, and I was just trying to figure out what was going wrong. But I realized, well, sometimes it's a patience game, and you need to give it time for things to start picking up. So yeah, in the beginning, I was like, nothing's happening. But then over time, things just started picking up like crazy for about maybe a little over a year. In terms of something specific, I was intrigued by the idea of dropshipping and stuff like, which is another business model where you work with FB ads and stuff like that, right? So what I thought was, like, I had a dropshipping store in a similar niche, right? So what I was thinking is, instead of having Amazon products, I have a product from the dropshipping store and try if that would sell. That didn't go anywhere. So that was one experiment that didn't work, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think you were kind of getting into this in a way, but I want to ask, what advice would you give to listeners that you wish you'd known when you had started?
I would say that, I guess, experiment a lot and keep learning and keep executing at the same time. Both should happen at the same time. I guess some people get caught up too much in the learning and they get confused with that process. And some people do the opposite, where they don't spend too much of time learning and they execute a lot, but they made too many mistakes along the way. So I guess I had times where I both was overthinking it and not taking action much. And there were other times where I did a lot of work without actually paying attention to the details. So I guess do it together, make sure that you learn something and you execute and follow that process as you go along.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about the balance. I want to talk about traffic. So where does the majority of your traffic come from?
So it's mostly basically from the medium, it's SEO, organic search traffic, and the countries are US and UK, the top two.
Okay. And what are you doing currently in terms of marketing?
So in terms of marketing, over the last 6 months or so, I've been pretty busy, so I haven't had time to do much with it. In a way, it's good because I've seen the passive potential of it, because it's been sitting there for 6 months and actually generating a lot of income during the period. But before that, I always made a point to at least spend a little bit of time trying to build links, because that's so important if you're targeting organic traffic. So I try to spend at least a bit of time every day reaching out to websites and trying to get like guest posts and stuff. I also experimented with a few all of the other techniques like skyscraper, broken backlink. I tried all of it at times every day, which added up, I guess.
All right. If you were to keep the business, what are some ways you would try to grow it?
There's so much you can do with these sites. So the sites are at a point where it's like at a jumping off point where things are really growing, and it's like in terms of keywords, it's outranking some really big players for certain keywords. So if I'm getting back to the drawing board, I'm going to grow these sites. I would go back and do a whole bunch of keyword research and find these low-hanging fruit keywords. I'm sure there's so many keywords you could target that you could just write an article and it'll start ranking because the authority has built up now. So that's one thing that can easily grow a site. Another thing would be I have an added display advertising, something that I've seen a lot of people do and I've been recommended to a lot, but I didn't get around to it. But I know that if I were to keep it, I would add it, and that would instantly give me about 20 or 30% bump in traffic and revenue.
Great. Of course, on the flip side again, what do you think are the biggest risks with a business that a buyer should be aware of?
In terms of risk, the only thing with this business model is the way Google works, right? The algorithm can be unpredictable at times, but thankfully, they just actually there was an update that just rolled out, and the sites have done pretty well with that update. It's going strong, and I guess that's because I've maintained, in terms of my backend profile and the content, I've maintained high standards, so it's not too much to worry about, but it's something to keep in mind.
Okay. And I know you've talked about this in a way, but I'm going to open the floor just in case you have anything to add. Can you describe the amount and type of work you do on this business for maintenance?
Yeah. As I said, prior to 6 months ago, I used to, apart from content whenever I have the time and focusing on link building, one of the things right now over the last 6 months that I've tried to do is, for the most part, I try to make sure that the products are all up to date. And for example, I have certain products that are within a certain price range. So I make sure that it's not compulsory, but I make sure that I give the readers the right products, because Amazon tends to change their prices and sometimes the products are not available. So once a month, I would spend a few hours making sure that everything's up to date in terms of the products I'm offering.
Okay, great. Would you say that there's any requirements or skills for someone not familiar with the niche or business model in order to take over this business?
Not exactly, because If it was somebody who's completely new, then there would be the, like just learning WordPress and how to add content and navigating a dashboard and things like that. These are skills that are really, really easy to learn with so much of tutorials and stuff. So yeah, just basic WordPress knowledge and navigation and stuff like that.
Okay. How much support are you offering buyers?
I can do about 30 days email support or even Skype chat. That is fine too.
Okay. Would you commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
And just a few kind of personal questions and, a little bit more about what you've learned. Were there communities or groups that helped you while running your business or helped you at least learn a little bit more about Amazon Associates?
Yeah, I mean, there are several, I think there are quite a few sites that focus on this particular business model that teach you, how to build on these things. And even on Facebook, there are groups as well. So I've learned a lot from these blogs and websites and the forums as well on Facebook.
Okay. You don't happen to remember any names, do you?
Sure. So I would say Authority Hacker, which has some really good content, and Backlink Pro has really detailed guides for SEO, and also maybe Cloud Living as well has some really good content on there about affiliate sites and stuff like that.
I'm just curious, was there anything that really drove you and motivated you while having this business?
I guess it's mostly the learning part. I figured that each step of the way, I've got to be honest, like during the beginning, the first 1 year or so, it does get really frustrating because that's just the way SEO works, where you don't see any progress you keep putting in effort, but you might not see progress in the beginning. And that was frustrating. But then I always knew that I was learning something. And then once it took off, right? And after it's just been, you get that, you're still getting that reward. So after it's just easy from there, because you know that whatever you're doing is paying off.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. Do you think you could estimate maybe how much time you were spending up front when you were first learning and building in that first year? How much time you were putting in before you, saw things take off?
Yeah, in the beginning, the thing is, because I have my main job as well, it depends. I would try to commit to a couple of hours a day, but that doesn't happen sometimes, right? So generally, if it is a couple of hours a day, either I would write one article or I would spend some time doing a longer too. So it's one of those two that I was usually doing. Sometimes if I'm a bit free, I try to do more work, but generally at least maybe I try to invest at least a couple of hours a day.
Okay. Yeah. And of course, I know now it's different where you did all that upfront investment in time, you put those hours in, and then once the site took off, it became more passive and now you're at much less time. Basically, exactly. Like you said, not really working on it as much. Exactly. That's cool. That's a great transition. So, this is one of my final questions here. Putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
So I did mention some of the opportunities where you can get some really easy quick wins where you can add display advertising, you can target so many keywords. But there's a couple of things that I left out during this interview. One thing is that I have invested a lot into content in terms of the kind of content that I did. So some of the posts, I did them by interviewing experts. So let's say that I have something, just an example, it's not the actual thing, but let's say I have an interest. I wrote something about a gaming mouse. I would interview gamers and get their feedback and then include those products, right? So similarly, based on my niche, I reached out to experts. I took a lot of time and I brought in some of the big names in the industry to contribute to the site. That has added a lot of value. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to spend time promoting my content, but I know for a fact that promoting that content, it's going to easily get a lot of links. And once it ranks, it's going to be very hard to outrank because that kind of content is something that's hard to replicate and also difficult to reproduce, and it's costly and all that. So that's one major plus that this site has. The other thing is that this is a package, and basically the main one side is bringing in the majority. So the other two sides are kind of like bonuses. And one of those two is one of the first domains that I bought when I was experimenting with things. It has a lot of natural backlinks and it's very high quality. So one advantage there. And the other domain is something I built recently, but I put a lot of work into the design and content. So if a buyer were to build these things from scratch, it would be quite costly, and these are like value additions. Outside of that, as I mentioned before, it's the wins that you can pick up and the authority that the sites already have that they can capitalize on.
Yeah, I think that's a great overview. I'm glad you added those things in. Well, that is most of my questions for now, unless you have anything else you'd like to cover.
I think I've covered everything.
Okay, well, great. Yeah, this has been awesome, Luke. I really appreciate it. And, for everyone out there listening, thanks so much for tuning in. To check out more details on this business or place a deposit, visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47202. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. By placing a deposit, you'll be given everything you need to know about the business and can start your due diligence. Until next time.